So today we're going to talk about apple cider vinegar. Apple cider vinegar can be used for basically countless culinary recipes, household items. People use it for medicinal purposes, salad dressing, you name it. It's just really great stuff. But with prices going up all over the place, all across the board on all kinds of groceries, I want to talk about ways to save money. Did you know that you don't have to buy apple cider vinegar? You can actually make your own. I did that for the first time last year and it turned out amazing. Absolutely amazing. I'm happy with it. Now, apple cider vinegar is made with apple cider. I don't want to waste my apple cider on making vinegar, which is basically letting it ferment past the alcohol stage and into the vinegar stage. So what are we left with? Apple scrap vinegar. This is apple scrap vinegar, literally made from apple scraps. Now, I made a delicious apple pie about a week ago and saved the peels, saved the some of the cores in a bag in the refrigerator, and we're going to use this to start the apple scrap vinegar. Additionally, I have some whole apples that are kind of past their prime. They're too soft to really enjoy for eating, and not quite far enough gone to where I'm willing to throw them out to the chickens. So, perfect opportunity to make some apple scrap vinegar out of our food scraps. So I'm going to show you how to do this. First, you are going to want to wash your apples. Now, I bought organic apples. We don't yet have apple trees that are fruiting. So I bought organic apples because I wanted to make sure that there were no, chemical sprays on the outside. But even so, I'm going to go ahead and wash these. Okay, now if I were making an apple pie, I would be peeling these apples and coring them. I would then go ahead and put all of the scraps in here and use the fruit of the apple for the pie, obviously. Now these have sat a few days, so they are kind of mushy. And I'm starting with very, very clean jars. And with the rest of these, I'm actually just going to cut up the apples. I'm going to roughly cut these. And it doesn't really matter, how you cut them. And you're just going to continue to do this and fill your jar. Now, there is some debate about whether putting apple cores into the apple scrap vinegar is safe or not. Apple seeds specifically, do contain trace amounts of cyanide, actually. If you want to go through and remove all of the seeds from your core, you can do that, still use the core. I'm going to see what I can get out, but I'm not going to waste a lot of time on it. The chickens will eat these. I'm not worried about it. I did include the apple cores last time. After further thought, I think I'll just leave them out. Better safe than sorry. Now the lethal dose for cyanide, I did the calculation. And, you'd have to drink probably several gallons of apple cider vinegar, with solid apple cores with the seeds in them and stuff. So not too worried about it, but Um, you know, we're trying to keep away from pesticide sprays and whatnot. Why include a little cyanide in your apple cider vinegar? Just my thought. But you go ahead and do you. I'm gonna skip it, and the chickens will get those apple cores. I always like to explore ways to use things up entirely. You know, with what's going on right now with the supply chain and grocery prices, things are getting quite expensive. I'll feel much better about it when we have our own apples coming from our own trees, but we are still a few years out from that, so for now we just have to buy the apples. So this one is filled up. So these apples were a little bit fresher than the peels that I had sitting here for a while. So we're going to do a little experiment here. I'm going to keep this jar with the fresh, fully cut up apple fruit in it. And then I'm going to only put peels into this jar. And we're just going to see how they look compared to one another in a few weeks. And I actually do have an apple peeler that I should get out and use because it's a lot of fun. The only problem is that the apples are soft. It's a little bit harder for it to work. The objective here is to keep this second half-gallon jar full of only peels. And don't worry, all this apple fruit here I'll go ahead and use for an apple tart for dessert after dinner. Now that we have the jar filled with apple scraps, our next step is to add sugar. Now, sugar is going to be the fuel for the yeast and bacteria to carry the apple scraps through the process of fermentation into vinegar. I'm just using regular plain white sugar today. You can use evaporated cane juice crystals. Do not use honey. Honey has some antibacterial properties, which normally is a good thing, but because we actually want the little organisms to digest these apples, we don't want to impede them in any way. So stay away from honey for this purpose. Now we are going to add 1 tablespoon of sugar per cup of liquid that's going to be in here. These are half-gallon containers. This should be 8 cups of liquid that will fit in here. So we're going to add 8 tablespoons of sugar. Now, because this one has more of the actual apple fruit in it, I am going to hold back a little bit on the sugar. I'm going to just do 4 tablespoons in this one. The flesh of the apple fruit contains a lot more sugar than just the peels in this jar. Our next step is to fill these up with water. I've got filtered water here. You do not want to use chlorinated tap water if you live in the city, because that will, again, slow down the microorganisms from breaking down the apples. Now I have a sauerkraut tamper here, and I'm just going to press the apple scraps down just to make sure they're kind of sort of towards the bottom. So our next step is to cover these and let them sit. I have fermentation lids. They're nifty little things. They have little holes in the top and like a little mini gasket that lets air escape. You don't have to use these. You can cover it with a towel. This is just to keep fruit flies and anything else that might be interested from getting in there while allowing gases and things to escape. Now, you're going to let these sit for, standard instructions say a week to 2 weeks. I have actually found that it really depends on the temperature in your house. We've been running the wood stove a lot lately, so it's warm in here. We may be good to go after a week or two. I'm even suspecting it'll take longer even so. So now all we have to do is wait. I have to make sure that I come by and stir these every day. Just make sure the apples are stirred around a little bit and the sugar's well dissolved, and this liquid will start to change color. Now, after we wait for a couple of weeks, we're going to strain the fruit out and put it into a separate bottle. I have found in the past that I've been able to combine the liquid from these two down into 1/2 gallon jar because you're removing the solids, so it takes up less space. You are eventually going to want to bottle your vinegar, and they say it's ready to use in a couple of months. However, I have found personally that ours took a whole lot longer. That could be because of where we stored it. It was a cooler location. But this is what it looks like at the end. It smells just like vinegar. It looks just like vinegar. It tastes just like vinegar. And it's free. That is the best part. Free vinegar. I did not have to pay $5.99 for this. Do not use homemade vinegar of any type for canning. With canning, it's really important for the acidity level to be a certain percent, and with the homemade vinegars, you just cannot be completely sure unless you test the pH and you're very certain about it. So buy vinegar for that. Enjoy your homemade apple scrap vinegar in salad dressings. Put it in all kinds of recipes, make a tonic with it, make a hot drink with it. It's delicious. And the best part is, guys, it's free. You were gonna make an apple pie anyway, right? So this is gonna go up on my fermentation shelf and we're gonna give it a check every day. I'll try to do an update video for you guys to show you how it turns out. My guess is it's gonna look really similar to this. Thanks for hanging out with me on the homestead today, guys. I encourage you to like and subscribe if you found this useful. We really do enjoy having you along on our journey. And until next time, take care. Bye-bye.